Alright, once again, got a round of 32 matchup here, as this time we have Willowkeeper taking on the Nordic Dream Team. Both of these guys fighting pretty hard to get to where they are now. And Tree, probably a team that you'll recognize if you are familiar with the competitive scene, as they did do pretty well in the Honduras Season 2 playoffs, and they've been around for a while. I think they played in Diamond Division for at least a little bit. Definitely one of those bubble teams, where they're not quite as high as the BMGs, the CiCs, the Reasons type squads, perhaps a tier below them, but they've been together for a while. They've had competitive experience, and if you put them up against pretty much most every team outside of the top heroes, or the top ones, Exet, stuff like that, then they'll probably come out ahead. And the guys on Nordic Dream Team, a little bit more difficult to say that about, as we don't really know who they are. They did do well in the round of 64, obviously, to get to this point in the round of 32, but going to have a bit of a challenge here going up against Willowkeeper. Bans are out. Fusion has taken out both Puppet Master and Ophelia, choosing to remove the hard carry of PM, which really seems to be banned out by a lot of players at this point. Very strong here, and they don't want to deal with it apparently. Ophelia, obviously, a very strong jungler as well, and removed from the pool at this point. Kronos and Dr. Repulse are going to be bans from Hellborn as they take out the power of their Suicide, as well as a strong short laner in DR. Not seen enough, I don't think, to warrant really an initial ban, but certainly a powerful hero. Legion side will pick up so far Bubbles, Torturer, and Flux, and I don't really have issues with any of those picks. Torturer, one of the stronger heroes, both in the middle lane and in the babysit role. I think he does the latter a little bit better, but he can certainly be a more offensive dual mid or even a tri-lane support hero. Bubbles almost always run as a solo laner, and when I say almost always, I mean like literally 99% of the time he's run as a solo laner. And we'll see if he chooses to go middle or top. With the Flux pick, I suspect we're going to be seeing a Suicide Bubbles here, but could still be a short laner even, and I feel like that's a little bit less likely. So it could be Torture with mid. NG still in ban, obviously the popular Torture or Flux NG combo available if he survives the second round of bans. And Torture could very possibly be played in that bottom with a harder carry. Hellborn's going to pick up Rhapsody and Kraken so far. Kraken obviously one of the better heroes in the game, if only because of his versatility, but that's not the only thing he brings to the table, of course. Can be played in any of the three lanes, and Engineer, actually, he'll be taking away with the third pick, so... anyway, Kraken can be played in any of the three lanes, and is just good at whatever he does. Suicide, Initiator, even as a carry. Scales well, team fights well, ganks well, doesn't push all that well, but a complement to pretty much any lineup. Obviously, Rhapsody and Engineer, very strong picks, and the synergy is here as well, obviously, with the three heroes Hellborn have picked up. Lots of teamfight ultimates. Pretty much the same thing on the Legion side as well. Both sides have strong AoE damage. Both sides can hit multiple heroes with their spells, and usually do. So, going to be some interesting team fights here on both teams. I think perhaps Hellborn, really Legion? Team fights about the same on both sides. Gank might be a little bit stronger on the Hellborn side. Bubbles is a real strong hero when it comes to gank. I think Flux is good as well, but not the best. And Torture is not so great either. But Kraken and Rhapsody and Engineer are all strong gank heroes, provided you can land the NG kegs, but I assume at this level that they can. Initiation also strong from both sides. Perhaps once again a little bit better for the Legion side, but because they have that Flux and Bubbles, but we'll see. Bans are coming out here so far. Fusion has banned out both Parasite and Pestilence here. Probably looking for a short laner and another support hero. As I said before, Hellborn side could be going for a short laner, they could be going for a mid, or they could be going for a Suicide, or two of those three. As Kraken can play any of the other three lanes. And I think I'd kind of lean toward a Kraken Suicide at this point, just because I'm not a huge fan of a dual Kraken. I don't think Rhapsody and Engineer work particularly well in a tri-lane together, although that could also be an option. So I'm thinking defensive dual lanes here from the Hellborn side as they look to put Rhapsody in the short lane with somebody, Engineer with somebody else in the middle, and Suicide the Kraken, but could also be plenty of other options here. Fusion banning Parasite. Curious. He could have picked that hero up. The Hellborn only have two supports, so a little interesting that he would think that the Hellborn would be prioritizing that hero. Pestilence certainly makes sense, especially as a mid lane pair with Engineer, very popular, as does Sir Bensington, strong Suicide option, and just a hero you don't want to have to deal with. So, makes plenty of sense there. DM will be the third pick. Very, very powerful hero, and in many cases, I think an underrated hero, even among competitive players who pick him up all the time. He's got one of the better win rates among all heroes, and he's just so versatile. He does very, very well in the mid game, but also scales to late. Mostly single target damage, but that can certainly be accounted for by the fact that the rest of the Hellborn side has extremely heavy AoE damage. Will also improve their gank presence by quite a lot. So Hellborn side stacking up real well here so far. Legion are looking pretty good themselves. I'd like to see something a little more late game oriented, and I think that they have the capacity to do that at this point. No, actually, they need a second support. What am I talking about? Andrew. So, Andrew will be the second support. Probably going to see a Flux Torturer middle. Ravener Andromeda on bottom lane. Not quite sure. Bubbles is definitely be a suicide here at this point. But they don't have super predictable lanes, which obviously is a very good thing. You could run the Rav mid, you could run Flux mid, and the Torturer and Andrew could be on either side. You could actually run the Tri-Lane here as well. Ravener, Andromeda, Torturer, Tri-Lane would be very, very powerful. And Flux certainly has no qualms about running a solo lane here, and I think I might actually prefer that. I think I'd like to see the Bubbles in the middle lane, the Flux as a solo bot, and the aggressive Tri-Lane here coming out from the Legion side. Would be able to secure a lot of kills, and Ravener works quite well in a Tri-Lane with some setup stuns, allowing him to land plenty of the ball lightnings. The other thing that would give them is Hellborn has a very, very mid-game oriented lineup, as Devour is going to be their final pick. Drunken Master, Kraken, and Devour will all hit their peaks in the mid-game. So if they have a really poor laning phase, they're really never going to be able to take off, and they're never going to be able to get to the late game. Legion side is in many ways the same. Very, very mid-game oriented. Ravener, perhaps the hardest carry in the game. I think it's arguable between him and Drunken Master. The fact that they also have Kraken on the Hellborn side makes me think the late game swings towards the Hellborn side, so the laning phase is going to be all that much more important here for the Legion side. If they can get off to a really good start, they can take over this game very, very quickly, and perhaps ride it to an early win that they might need in order to prevent this game from going long and allowing Kraken and Drunken Master to realize their full potential. Devour, too, for that matter. Obviously a hero that scales very well late, and their supports. You know, Torture scales pretty well, but Rhapsody's ultimate is never not useful. NG Field, always a pain in the ass, and pretty much always forces teams to pick up Shrunken Heads just because you don't want to deal with it. And it's looking here like we're going to see a Suicide Bubbles as he's getting up there as fast as he possibly can. Really, wow. Using the Shell Surf extremely aggressively. And he might actually not even be up there quickly enough to get the ward down before the Hellborn team gets there. They're going to see him place this, as Boxel is not going to be able to be quite quick enough. And I think he did spot them. And he's like, really? I used my Shell Surf multiple times to get the hell up here, and... wow. Interesting. So, Hellborn sending 4 or 5 heroes, in fact, into the woods, making sure that they guard their pull. Definitely the correct tactic, as Boxel was absolutely looking for the pull to be warded so that he could gain some lane control. Not going to happen instead. And we'll see what they choose to do here on the Hellborn side, but I think I might actually favor the Hellborn's draft here. Legion side no doubt have the players, and they probably have the skill to be able to quote-unquote overcome that, but I do think I favor the Hellborn's draft in terms of how it's constructed. They are mostly physical damage, especially with Kraken, but the Kraken Drunken Master synergy is fantastic. The Torrent, obviously, with the negative armor helping out Drunken Master's largely physical-based onslaught. Kraken is, going to use the release to help keep people in place, and etc., etc. So they're going to run the Flux Torturer middle. Not a huge surprise, as it was pretty much either that or the Tri-Lane, and choosing to forego the Tri-Lane here instead of in favor of the defensive dual lanes. Similar tactic being played on the Hellborn side, as both squads will run a true suicide up against the dual lane. Bubbles here on the Legion side, and going to be Kraken on the Hellborn side. So actually put the Rev Ward down here. So if they, good that he warded over here, because if he tried to ward the pull, that wouldn't have worked very well. Instead, just a bit of a wasted Rev Ward here. So top lane, it's going to be really difficult to kill this Bubbles. A, because Boxel's that frickin' good, but B, because the take cover and the Shell Surf, as long as you play reasonably defensive, it's just not easy to lock this hero down and kill him. And especially with this ward off to the site, Rhapsody will not be able to sneak up on him, will not be able to get an offensive staccato off, and will not be able to intercept him after he uses the Shell Surf. So Voxel should be mostly okay up here in this top lane. Going to be very difficult for him to get a kill on Drunken Master, especially if DM plays as aggressive as he is. And at this point, you're going to need to be really careful about how he plays this, because Rhapsody is here off to the side. Has to use a Shell Surf, yeah, defensively, and run to the woods, then use a health pot. Okay, so he'll be alright, but certainly not the sort of start he wanted, as DM now will have pretty strong control of this lane here. He's going to eat his way out of the trees here. Obviously, a Shell Surf back up in a second. Takes his Staccato stun there. And the second stun. And might actually look to turn this onto Drunken, but he's taking a little bit too much damage. Nicely done. Dude's good, man. They're going to bring the courier over, and that's not going to bode well for him. Oh my god. If he gets out of this, and he very well might, that's going to be the second. Couple more auto attacks. Not going to be enough. Oh my god. No joke, this guy might be one of the best Suicide players in the game. That shouldn't happen. Anyway, middle lane, actually, they are going to get the kill here onto Devourer as they chase him down. I just caught the tail end of that, but does get the kill. Up to a 2-0 lead here so far on Willowkeeper's side, and that was... I'm sorry, but Voxel he's so freaking good, man. I remember I think the first time I saw him play, and I really took a notice of it, was his Chronos versus a Slither, and it was just ridiculous. Like, he kept killing the short lane Slither as a Suicide Chronos, and this is before Chronos was a really obvious and popular Suicide, and it's just going like, why does this keep happening? Why does Slither keep dying? It was really, once you watch it from the beginning, it was really obvious. Hook here onto Torture, gonna be a lot of trouble, takes the keg stun, turret goes down as well, drops the release there, and the chain reactions. Is Torture gonna be able to get out of this? Oh my god, yes he will. Health Potion gets canceled there, but uses the second one. And shockingly enough, Root of Z there will survive despite taking the hook, the keg, and a lot of the turret. Bottom lane, Kraken and Raven are going to be 1v1 for a while, as we see Andrew and Invisrin making her way over to the middle lane. Let's see who they choose to jump. I'm suspecting it'll be the Devourer, because that's who they probably want to kill the most. Pull in here, and a Comet Stun. Chain Reaction going to be following it up, and Devourer going to be in a lot of trouble there. Drops despite the turret use. Keg wasn't actually dropped. A little interesting there, probably could have helped out a little bit with the Keg, although it's unlikely Devourer is going to get out of that one alive. So 3-0 hero kill lead. Nice roam from Andromeda there, obviously helping to prevent a Devourer from snowballing. Always a very, very good idea. And Ravener doing just fine in the bottom lane without Andro for a few minutes anyway. Or not even a few minutes, but a little bit. Stormblades and the Ball Lightning going down here, and Kraken taking plenty of damage. Will have to be dropping a health pot. Has full mana. Ravener hurting a little bit in that department, but considering the level advantage and the fact that Kraken is now almost out of regen here, just 2 tangos left, he'll definitely take it. Ravener also sporting boots. Kraken does not have any. Quick look at the GPM charts here. 370 gold per minute already. Hook there, not going to be hit just on the creep. Anyway, Ravener already leading the GPM charts. Just behind him is Flux and then Drunken Master. Bubbles barely out GPMing this mid Devourer, and that's not really something that should be happening. Your opposing team's suicide should not be out farming your team's middle. But obviously a Bloodlust helps out quite a lot with that. Bubbles going to stack creep camp here. And move back to middle lane. Chain reactions go on to Engineer. Flux is out of mana, so there's not too much they can do here, and Bubbles is just sort of trying to live at this point, I think. Not having a great time up in top lane, where Drunken Master's basically getting free farm because he's not consistently in this lane, and it might just be that Rhapsody is too annoying to deal with. And so he's trying to roam elsewhere and set up kills. He's already level 4 here, so it seems like he should be able to go to toe-to-toe with this Rhapsody, who's only level 2. And is somewhat devoid of regen 4 tangos and no mana regen. More to say, obviously spots Voxel over here, and they will make sure he doesn't get nearly as much as he wants. Port me coming back middle as Flux returns to the lane. 6-minute room will be contested here. Torture, Kraken, and Engineer all going for it. It is going to be a haste. Kraken picks it up, looking for a kill on Torture, perhaps. Not going to find it. And Torture obviously knows what's going on, considering he just saw it. Kraken here roaming middle, perhaps looking for a jump onto Flux. They're going to get hooked, though, because Flux is not going to just put himself in harm's way. Kraken showing himself with the cliff. Now, perhaps hitting top, not hitting top. Really unsure about what he wants to do. And will instead run bottom, so fix the haste, pretty much wastes it. Meanwhile, in middle lane, chain reaction will be onto Devour, plus the combo stun, couple more auto attacks, and he will also fall. Kegson only hit Andromeda there. They're going to try to chase down this engineer as well. Flux tanking the tower, quite a lot of damage though, and he's going to be able to get out of there as Flux does not want to continue pursuing with all that tower damage coming on him. Devour dying once again here, below 200 gold per minute. Really just not having a great time, especially against Flux here, who has a 315 GPM. And so far, the guys on tree up 4-0, having a real strong early game. And this is what they need to do. Hook there, not going to hit. Will kill the creep, but obviously they're looking for Flux. Flux is level 6 and has plenty of mana, though, so if he does get hooked in, he's just going to push everybody away. Bottom lane Kraken getting jumped on, actually charges Ravener forward. That was the mistake. Did not want to do that, and he will get the kill. So the jump from Ravener, and obviously the strong positioning there, so that if Kraken was looking to charge, he was going to do it in a bad direction here. Middle lane, actually, they will finish up both NG and Devour as they jump with the chain reactions onto 2. Nice pulling by Flux. That's excellent play. And also attack from Torture just finished him off. Devour trying to kill his Torture as revenge. They will not be able to do so. So that's some good teamwork right there with Flux pulling Engineer into the chain reactions and Torture landing the double stun. And then eventually picking up the double tap. Top lane, pull goes on as they're looking to regain lane control, prevent Voxel from being able to do anything at all. Bottom lane Ravener continues to do extremely well, and this is a hero that can carry pretty damn hard if you get him sufficient GPM. He will also snowball very, very effectively. The issue is just he's not the hardest carry, and he's sort of sitting, I guess, halfway in between carry and initiator. A lot of teams don't like to run him in general, it seems, and it sort of feels like he is both of those. If he gets enough farm, he's a dominating carry, but he doesn't play the initiator role as well as I think we thought he did maybe a few months ago, especially towards the end of Haunter Season 2. Bubbles just sort of using his shell search to get to the trees and try to get some experience. Obviously, Rhapsody apparently not seeing him, as they were sitting right next to each other on the wrong side of the tree. Tequila Master. DM continuing to get free farm up here, and actually they will spot him out. Staccato stuns go there, not enough to stop the shell surf port, as he's now stuck in the cliffs. But probably pretty okay with that, considering the alternative is essentially death. And we'll shell surf over here and get out just fine. So Voxel lives. Nice use of the dance door there to get some vision, and you're like, alright, where the hell is Bubbles? Meanwhile, creeps are being killed by Torture and Flux, as Flux is extremely low. Will in fact put it back to base. Let me jump here, take cover, and nice science. Actually didn't appear to hit him. We'll draw 2 ports though, and now Drunken is in some trouble. No kill field available from Bubbles as he's not level 6. And meanwhile, Rhapsody up top will get caught and drops the Staccatos, but not enough to prevent her death. So Drunken Master dives the tower trying to get Bubbles, and Rhapsody pays for that. Meanwhile, off the side, Flux can run into 3. In fact, Devour dropping the ult and the turret and the keg stun. Flux going to drop here pretty easily. So nice counter gank there as Hellborn get on the board for the first time here. Bubbles going to be flanked a little bit by Drunken Master and Devour. drops the shell surf off to the side and doesn't actually port to it, so now he's in some trouble. Kelpfield goes down, hook doesn't actually connect. Actually, both stuns get taken. And are they going to see him? Yeah, now they see him. And off to the side, Ravener and Andro are help trying to save him, and they're actually going to turn this around onto Devourer. And now the Hellborn are the ones trapped in the back as Drunken Master and Rhapsody will fall. Oh, that's painful. Lolas and Ravener getting a hat trick. So they collapse on Bubbles. He manages to live long enough to draw a couple of ports, I think, and maybe at least one or two other realms. And oh, that just hurts. So 11.5 minutes into this game, and Tree have taken a substantial lead. 11-1 hero kill lead, 6.5k gold, 5.5k experience. Ancient's going to be finished off here by 4 heroes. That'll be yet another strong source of gold. Meanwhile, here in the bottom lane, Bubbles actually gets pulled in, and Devourer will get the kill. So, for all Boxel's tricks and evasion, as he has evaded death a few times now by the skin of his teeth. And he is unable to do so in that instance. Dawnbringer going to be item of choice here for Ravener, not bad at all. One of those items that is very versatile, provides pretty much a bit of everything, and obviously Ravs likes that slow, he likes the tankiness, he likes the attack speed and the armor, and he also likes the mana regen, so generally a very useful item for him. Flux going to activate a haste rune, will pull Devourer back, and drops the release on him. Dev going to be in a bit of trouble here, as he is quite tanky, so he should be able to do something, but obviously Flux's haste and repeated harass actually drops the ultimate there onto Flux, now trying to run away, not going to be enough. Kraken drops in here, trying to drop the release of Kraken, doesn't actually hit anybody. Kagesan not going to hit either. NG Field getting dropped. Balefus coming in with a shell serve, kills a couple, and they will finish off Flux in the meantime. Ravener also falls, but the Kelpfield actually does not hit anybody. Drunken Master going to pay for it though. Amaro attacks, and he will fall. TP canceled by Rhapsody. Ends up being a 4-for-2 in favor of the Legion side as they lose both Flux and Ravener. So not that great a trade for them, but still probably a bit advantageous. Dropping both of your top farmers for 4 heroes, including a support, is not the greatest. On the other hand, they did get all 3 of Hellborn's farming heroes, so really not a bad trade. It's just not that good a trade. You know, it's not as good as 4-for-2 would initially look. Torture here could be in some trouble. Dev looking for the hook, will not be able to connect. There's a nice sidestep there from Root of Z. Top lane Flux looking to continue his farm as Boxel has been given the middle lane to grab some CS and some Stoof. Regen rune will be bottled up by Flux as Bubbles is like, hey, that's mine. Meanwhile, bottom lane actually gets Devourer once again, and yeah, Aurora finishing him off from Andromeda. Going to be a 4v3 though, so Hellborn looking to re-engage very possibly. No ultimates available except for the Dev and Drunken Master though, so not super interested in pursuing that. And obviously the Legion side just generally a lot more farmed and higher level than their counterparts. Middle lane going to be pressured here a little bit by Bubbles and Flux. And I'd like to talk strategy for the Hellborn, but I'm not sure if there is any. Meanwhile, on bottom lane, push back in by Flux, and agonizing bombs actually gets a double tap, so okay. Because this sort of shit keeps happening. I think they got to group up. I'm not sure if we've seen a 5v5 engagement from them. And they do have very strong team fight. You know, the Kraken ultimate, the Engineer ultimate, the Rhapsody ultimate, now that she is level 6. Kelfield down here will get dropped, but Drunken Master able to stagger away will be just fine. Flux dropping the regen as well, and releases on top of the creeps. Bot tower denied as the first tier 1 of the game goes down after the 15-minute mark, so took a while to start killing towers. No surprise, either side is particularly adept at pushing. So I was saying before, I think I'd like to see the Hellborn side group up, and that might be what they're doing here. As we see Drunken Master off to the side in the woods, killing some creep camps, but the other 4 heroes are in middle lane. And they need Drunken. He's their only one that has even stored a decent farm with 326 gold per minute. Hook there actually will catch Flux. Well thrown there, and Flux is going to be in a lot of trouble. Staccato sends helping to finish her off. Despite the drop of the release, will not be able to survive. So excellent, excellent pick there on a Krake, and they should try to turn this into a tower kill. I don't know why Drunken is farming the woods. We've got Flux down. He's, you know, one of 3 real initiators in this team, but a good one. You know that Andro's bottom, and you don't know where the other 3 are really. Now you know Torturer's middle, but that should have been a mid-tower push. And I don't know if they just didn't want to do it because Drunken Master wasn't there, in which case Drunken Master should have been there, or if they didn't want to do it. I mean, they probably should have done it no matter what, but Hook there from Devourer not going to hit. Ravener does not have a portal key, and is relying on others to really do the initiation. Definitely going for more of a damage build. It makes a lot of sense, obviously, as they have both Flux and Bubbles. They don't need Rav to be providing initiation. Chain reactions in a row are not going to hit anything. Hook there also not going to connect. Lift goes out, and they're looking for something. Ball Lightning here off of the side onto Rhapsody. Will easily take the drop. Flux pull everybody in, and they drop the energy field, but the Kraken's going to go down in the meantime. Devour getting taken a lot of damage. Will be able to get out as the energy field protects him. So does Engineer. Here off to the side, and that's going to be not enough to save the Master. They actually pick off NG as well, as that was the Aurora with Andro. Fusion picking off the kill, so ends up being a 4-0. Devourer the only one able to survive. And Ravener dropping pretty low, but obviously lives in the end.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn
and that's 2 towers, 3 towers, as they'll be able to take this bot secondary as well, if they want. They could also take Kongor and or Steel Ancients. And it looks like it's going to be the Ancient decision. So double stack Hellborn Ancients will be cleaned up by the Legion side at this point. Bot secondary tower going to be pushed in a little bit by the creeps. They probably could do a little more to pressure this, but the Hellborn side is responding to it, so not the worst decision that they chose to back off. Meanwhile, over here, Rap's going to get caught once again. That is a hasted Ravener, and she's just dead. Actually, they do pull Ravener here with the ultimate on Devourer, and Ravener will fall, so it ends up being a good trade so far, but Devourer also going to take the death for this. Root of C-section of Bloodbath will be finished off. In the meantime, they're going to try to chase down this Bubbles. He does have a Shell Surf back up in a couple of seconds, and they'll jump back in from Flux, trying to finish off Engineer here. One more attack does so, but Flux pays for it. And Bubbles will be able to get away thanks to the Shell Surf, so pretty bad engagement there for the Legion side, as they took off only the 2 supports and lost Flux, Ravener, and Torturer. Especially Torturer with a blast streak. Obviously gave them a whole bunch of gold. 589 gold for killing a support Torturer, who was at 370 GPM. And it looks like we might finally be seeing that middle tower push, although Devourer, the only one here, really looking like he wants to make an effort at it. Top lane, Port will go in, Kraken going to defend the top tower. And the creeps will be left to push this tower here, as Fusion's going to try to back them off and prevent as much damage as he can. Top lane jumping here with Ball Lightning and a Flux, and that's just a dead Kraken. So 26-8 hero kill advantage here for the Legion side, and they're no doubt in control of this game. They've got some strong late game here with Ravener. Flux will help out as well. Bubbles is still in his prime really at this point. He will drop off as the game goes on, but for now he's going to be a very effective hero.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
And he's looking for a push book, obviously with the release of Kraken. That's definitely not a bad idea. Energy Field also helping out in that regard, making that a valuable item. In the meantime, Bound Eye actually on Torture also has an Invis Rune. Word of Sight will spot pretty much everybody, and the Hellborn side will back off. Rev Ward is dropped here, and they see the Torture. Flux is like, alright, but nice pullback onto Rhapsody, will save her. Shell Surf goes through. Will Bubble Support, yep, and the Kelpfield finishes off the Rhapsody. Now drops to take cover, and the Shrunken Head gets picked up and used by Drunken Master. They're going to see anything. In the meantime, Engineer also falls. Boxel drops the Bubbles. In the meantime, Devour getting the ultimate here, and that's not going to be enough to save him. Drunken Master falls, and Kraken going to be the last one. Ends up being a genocide in favor of the Legion side, losing only their Bubbles, and that's yet another team fight going their way. Boundai now going to be used to clean up the wards, as they should also see this one. And that's just not good. Ravener cleaning up some of the creep camps here. Behemoth's Art picked up on Torture as he's going for the Icon of the Goddess. Well, he got 13 kills and 9 assists. That makes sense, I guess. Support Torture with an Icon. He's got 415 GPM. And 27 CS. It's 4 less than Bubbles, but it's not a lot. 163 on Ravener, 110 on DM, 79 on Dev, 42 on Kraken. Like this, he does not have a good CS score. This is just massive amounts of kills and assists. But he alone is involved in 1 kill every minute. And actually, Ravener has even more. He's got 22. No, sorry, they're the same. 13 plus 9 and 7 plus 15 is the same. I can math. Up there, gonna hit a creep, and Bubbles will be totally fine. And a couple of supports here. Sorry, one support, and the Drunken Master. Bubbles gonna port in, Flux Ultimate going off, and Kelpfield goes into 2 actually. Drunken Head, pops the Shrunken Head. Ball Lightning not gonna get anything. Ravener here running in anyway, also pops his Shrunken Head. NG trying to drop the energy field, but he's looking for something nice. Ultimate for Rhapsody will save all sorts of damage, and they're going to try to turn this around. Release the Kraken, drop right onto Ravener, as well as Devour Ultimate. They're trying desperately to kill him. In the meantime, Rhapsody is going to fall, and we're going to see the jump in here once again from Ravener. Now they're going to start finishing people off. Kraken and Drunken Master are dead right off the bat. Devour Engineer trying to run away. Not going to be enough. Andromeda has a portal key for some reason. They finish up NG. Devour trying to try to port here. Probably, oh my god, it's successful. That's surprising. And GG well plays get called, but Andrew has a portal key. That's just funny. He's at 300 gold per minute, and this actually looks deceiving because the farm for everybody, for a lot of heroes, is really good. Anyway, that's the game. And the guys on Willow Keeper will be able to kill Devour there, as well as move on to the round of 16, and solid draft there, I think, from them and from the Hellborn side, and sensible laning decisions from both of them. I think is just another situation where the Legion side has a lot more experience. They have a lot more competitive insight. They've been doing this a lot longer, and they have perhaps just better players. I think it's pretty hard to argue that if you've got Boxel on your squad that you don't have a better team. There's very few situations where that wouldn't be true. Anyway, Tree will be moving on to the round of 16, and the Hellborn side in something. No, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get who they are. God damn it. No, I'm not gonna get it, am I? Nordic Dream Team. Yep, wouldn't have gotten that. So sorry, I forgot your name. But you're out anyway, so I'm sure you don't care. And that'll do it.